Hello and welcome back to Vlogging with Mark. So glad you're connecting with us in this way. It's a great opportunity for us to stay connected and be a part of each other's lives in this way. My guest today is a good friend of mine, Rich Spight, Pastor Rich Spight. He is pastor of Mountain View Community Church, and we're going to talk about a few things today, but I first wanted to just have him introduce himself. And Rich, if you tell us about yourself and a little bit about Mountain View, your church.
I've been an Alaska stowaway for 28 years, loving it, but I've been the pastor of Mountain View Church for just one of those 28 years. And in that time, we've done a lot of progress. Now, I've worked with various churches, the Assemblies Church, the Baptist Church, a couple church startups, non-denominationals we call them. And I have had the honor of serving God and all my life. And when you say all my life, there were times when I wasn't as good at it as others. But in Mountain View, it all comes into play.
Yep.
Because you have people from various backgrounds and cultures and racial and ethnic blends. And they're at a point in their life, it seems to me, if folks who have that community marked as a bad neighborhood miss the point. It's the perfect place to build a church outreach. It's a perfect place to go out and help, because there's so many people trying to build their lives, and they're, what do you say, new Alaskans, right. Early Alaskans. There's some old salt around there and some sourdough, but there's a lot of new families coming in from all over the world, whether it be Sudan or the Tongans or the Min people or the Hmong people. When you start looking at the Samoan people, that whole community is a blend of all kind of people. The native people are oftentimes given the neighborhood or the ethnic groups of Black Americans, but that neighborhood is so mixed that's the perfect school. If you go to, I did my internship there with the elementary school, because it had so many different languages and so many different challenges. Right. And so I had this thing I had to prove, that you could communicate without speaking. And so I would go in and do a cognitive adjustment. It was a psychological term of where I would use clapping just to get the attention.
Right.
As Christians, if we go into a neighborhood and we do something as simple as get their attention, then we can tell them about Jesus. But if we haven't got their attention, we're just going to be a place, another doormat or another doorkeeper, where we're just having church and we're coming into the church and we're leaving from the church, but we have no impact on the community. So right now, that's a great community, great time to be at Mountain View in the middle of a pandemic. People need help, and if the church is doing something and outside the walls, boy, we have an impact. So it's a great time, and it's a good place to be at.
That's a great thing, because I know that church has been there for many years, and it's great to see how it is reaching out to that particular part of the community. And that's one thing we at Rabbit Creek really have a heart for, is reaching out to all of Anchorage. And in South Anchorage, we tend to be less diverse, and it's a wonderful thing to find ways to reach out into diverse communities. If I'm right, last I knew, there was nearly 100 languages in the Anchorage School District, 97, I think is the last number I knew. And that needs to be represented in the body of Christ. And so I think that you've got a really good lead on it there at Mountain View.
In Mountain View, literally, I have to talk super slow, and I monitor whether or not I say super slow. I'm not doing a good job now, am I?
A little fast now. Right?
So I actually have to slow it down, and I have to be creative enough, but factual enough and spiritual enough. It has to be Bible we're preaching. It has to be done in such a way that we keep the attentions, and we make it illustrated to the point that we grab the people and pull them in so they'll come back. Our numbers have been growing steadily unto the day of the pandemic. But even in the middle of the pandemic, we moved to the outside of the church, and we were in the parking lot, and we had a Samoan praise team singing. And they had the whole block just humming. I think we were only pushing like 6,000 watts, but it was nice. I said it like it was loud. No, but it was a great feel.
No complaints from neighbors.
No, the neighbors came out. That was our biggest collection of offering, actually, that we've had when we went outside, because the neighbors decided or believed in giving. And so I don't know if it was a blessing because we were singing good or preaching good, but
Probably both.
it was great. But we had tears, we had singing, we had praise, and we had a true worship outside, but we also grew.
Right.
And as a result of being outside in that community, we literally saw new members. In fact, we even had a baptism that followed being outside.
Praise
we
God.
So going to a community where you say to yourself, there's nobody here, let's speed up. It would be easy to do at Mountain View because there's some people, some seedy people who kind of hang out. But I don't get to do that. So I get to talk to what might look seedy, and there's usually a name that goes with that person who's sleeping on the front of the church. And so if I was to show you pictures, we come to church sometimes and we have people taking their hotel privileges on our front porch because of little heat escapes.
Oh, okay.
And so from our front main doors. And so our community is different only because the people are different. Right. They had different needs. And so we can't placate to the need, but we can meet the need of their spiritual growth.
Right.
So we have done our part, we've done our best, and we continue to do better. The more hands you have, it makes the task easier. So your church and our church, I mean, I can remember, well, all the guys have been over. You've even preached there.
Yes.
And coming to, and preaching and reaching out there, the impact your church here and your staff has had on that community is without a doubt, major impact. And so the members and the people who have heard you speak, along with the folks like myself that have been blessed by, like your men's retreat.
Right.
Coming back from that men's retreat, it was hard for me not to preach good that day. So
Likewise.
So it was it's a great thing to have a family to look at and be a part of, right, and be enriched by. So it is important to continue in reaching out, and it's really important for the folks who attend or part of the body of Christ to know that there are some impacts that they may not see, but very much connected to what they're doing in this church now in this hour.
Right. It makes you think. You talked about the impact some of us had as we've come to Mountain View and been a part of that ministry, whether it be preaching or singing or just showing up. What are some ways that people watching here can say, I really want to help Pastor Rich. I hear part of his story and want to help Mountain View. What are some ways they can help you?
Well, listen, this is the thing. Over the summer, a group from Texas came up, and they were just young people who didn't even live here, and we went to the neighborhood and we went door to door. But before going, we had a little church service. We had a little prayer time and singing. And I heard the confessions, I'm afraid to go. And that is so common in the church. But when you come to Mountain View with your gift of who you are, and you bring your tithing, I'm not talking about money now. I'm talking about 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, 12 months in a year. God put something in you more than breath. You've got a return on that investment. When you bring what you are, if you have financial skills and you came over and you said, hey, listen, is there a way that I, as a financial advisor, can help Mountain View Church? Oh, yes. Right. Is it a possibility as a good Sunday school teacher or director of IT, is there something I can do in Mountain View? Oh, yeah. So the thing is, I won't be so finite in describing what you can do. There's so much you can do if you're willing to do. There's a possibility that we can work a partner to help the people in Mountain View. Right. So it's not just a soup line situation. Every Sunday we do have food. Bing. But the thing
might get people there right away.
So we have at 12 o'clock. We always have a lunch that happens after, and we've been doing that as a sack lunch during the pandemic. But in the spiritual food, in the natural food, in the growth and education, there's so much that could be offered. And I can say it like this briefly. I was doing a paper for a degree in the city of Anchorage. I was working this, and I asked one question: how do we help people who don't have help? And it was about Title I schools have funding to help kids that are underprivileged. But when you have kids that live in neighborhoods like the 1200 Diamond, it's called Diamond Estates, it's a trailer court. Those kids go to Golden View. But when they get up to Golden View to that junior high school up there, the school doesn't get Title I funding.
Different world.
So they're in a different world, and they don't get any of the special treatment or introductions to entrepreneurship. They don't get any connectives with fraternities or sororities, mentoring, telling them about career choice and career interventions. Spiritually, it's the same thing. When you have a neighborhood that is depressed, we can target them to a degree, but we need to bring professionals. We need to bring insight. We need to bring love and joy from a different aspect. Those shape the lives of Christians. I found that was a problem or a challenge for our school district. But the thing is, as a Christian, the challenge is, how do I take part? How do I give? How do I say thank you to God? And so there's so many thank yous at your church. When I say that, people who have professional abilities, giftings, and even if you're a singer, even if you're a doctor or a lawyer, even if you're an engineer, I know that's a rough one. That might sound like, oh, we just want to use you. No. If you were to spend 20 minutes with a kid talking about the possibilities and the realities, believe me, that might be the first time. As a Christian, when you're just sharing your insight, just in coming, I would love to have some people be willing to come and give a short conversation, 10, 15 minutes, on what they do for a living or what their Christian experience, their testimony. It helps us expand. If I don't see difference and I don't see hope, then it's really hard for me to be different and have hope. Right. So there are so many different, diverse ways that we can build in that community. And that's just in the church. Outside the church, it gets more challenging, but more rewarding, because then you're saving souls.
It really makes you think. We're really passionate about the idea of everyday, ordinary life. That's our phrase around Rabbit Creek, and you know that, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to say, as Pastor Rich has said, that you can bring, no matter what your skills are, your giftings, you can do that. You don't have to have a great singing voice, you don't have to be a preacher, you don't have to be a Sunday school teacher. All those things are wonderful. But you can be a great accountant, you can be a great plumber, you can be a great person of intellect, you can be a person who runs numbers. All these skills that you have, we encourage you to use them. Use them at Rabbit Creek Church, use them at Mountain View Community Church, use them in our culture. And thanks so much again for watching. We'll see you next week.